I like that voice. Recording in progress. Welcome, everybody, and happy Happiness Day. Happy International World Happiness Day, which to me should be every single day, really. It's one of my favorite celebration days. There's another one that I absolutely love, which mark your calendars, the 22nd of May. It's International Being You Day, which is also one of those things that, we might want to invite into our lives every day. At least that's one of my favorite tools. They're one of my favorite spaces, one of my favorite ways to be in. My invitation for the world really is the more we're willing to be ourselves and the more we're willing to relax and to allow ourselves to receive, we have a totally different experience of functioning and of being on the planet. And that's really our choice. And today at school, although I kind of did my hair afterwards because it was all frizzy from the hat, I was wearing my happiness is just a choice hat. And of course, the teens at school kind of looked at me a little funny. What's this older woman doing with a little cap on her head saying happiness is just a choice? But hey, it is a choice. And it's something that for the longest time in my life, I didn't realize that I could make. Except for Lucia, most of you guys are fairly new to me, so you may not know some of my stories. So I'll just touch on it a little bit so you get a perspective of where I'm coming from. I lived, functioned, and just everything that I did in my life was based on being a victim. That life was happening to me. Life was difficult. Life was miserable. Life was bigger, greater than me and anything that I could choose. And when I first found the Access Consciousness tools, and someone just asked me about it today, what was it like finding them? I was honestly pissed. I was pissed as hell when I found these Access Consciousness tools because it looked to me like, the people weren't serious enough. What are they doing laughing over there? Why are they enjoying themselves so much? Like, what the hell is this? Don't they know my life is pain and suffering and difficulty? And I just didn't get the lightness that was possible. I didn't get the ease that was possible. I didn't get that we actually have a choice. It seemed so absurd because I had been taking life so seriously. I made everything so significant. I made everything so relevant about me. And I was for sure in therapy and medicated and injected and all of that kind of stuff. The quote unquote pain and suffering that went with not being willing to be me, with not having ease, with not relaxing. And I really suffered a lot in terms of how my life could be. I didn't realize that I had a choice. And this is what's so fascinating to me. The last 3 weeks or so, 3.5 weeks, I've been going to my daughter's school. And I've been volunteering to run the bars for the school administrators, for some of the teachers, some of the students, and I've just been being space and just observing and willing to be whatever gift is possible in any situation. And it's very interesting to observe the dynamic between the people who see themselves as at least as big as this reality, and those who see themselves as being the effect of this reality. Now, when we have a perspective like that, when we make anything outside of us bigger than us, it controls anything and everything that we do and be and see and perceive. Our way of functioning doesn't go to where we could create a cognitive choice. We function from the insane mind, so to speak, the non-cognitive mind, the non-logical mind of, well, this is what I believe about me. there is a whole conversation that's been coming up in Access Consciousness over the last couple of months about presumptive realities and the needs of reactive realities. Now, when you look at what is a presumptive reality, it's a given. What have you taken on as a given, as an unchangeable thing that you believe is you, that isn't you, that if you'd be willing to let it go, would allow you to have a different space of possibilities from which to choose to create your life. And everything that is, and everything that doesn't allow you to recognize it, will you destroy and uncreate it all. Right and wrong, good and bad, pod and poc, all nine shorts, boys, povads, and beyonds. Now, that's the clearing statement of Access Consciousness. If you're not familiar with it, there's a beautiful explanation that I won't go into now on theclearingstatement.com, and it will give you everything you need to know about the clearing statement, how to use it, how to apply it, and everything. But basically, we ask a question, we bring up the energy, and then we wipe off a layer with the clearing statement. Now, the presumptive reality is actually something that is so insidious because you do not see a space between that point of view and who you are. There is such a confusion between ourselves and the points of view. So if we have a point of view that the world is a battlefield, that I think there was an 80s song, right? I can't quite remember. Life is a battlefield. Oh, that was Love is a Battlefield. Pat Benatar, that's what it is. I knew I'd remember at some point. But it's basically whether you look at it as love, you look at it as life, you look at it as interactions, interrelations between people. If you make it being a battlefield, if you make it as challenging and difficult and something that you must overcome, that's filled with obstacles, that's just something that's so tough in every step along the way, well, that's what it's going to be. But if you have a different perspective, that we live in a miraculous, abundant, phenomenal universe, that gives us a different perspective. That gives us a different sort of basis from which to create our life and living. So that's what I mean by the underlying presumptions. You don't even notice that you have certain presumptions. In my case, being depressed as long as I was, my underlying presumption was that life is basically suffering, and that I'm generally on the outside, and that life is happening to me. And so there was no finding happy. It was this pursuit of happiness, and I was always in pursuit, and it was always, you know, like an equal distance away from me, right? Kind of like the carrot hanging in front of a horse's mouth. Doesn't matter how fast that horse is going to run, the pole is still sticking out there, and that carrot is still the same distance away. And until we bridge that gap between us and whatever it is that we think we desire, and that gap comes from recognizing that there's nothing outside of us that doesn't originate within us. It isn't about pursuing the happiness. It is exactly like this hat says, where happiness is actually a choice. Now, for the longest time, I didn't think I had that kind of a choice. That might be the case for some of you guys or someone who might be watching this in the future, because there's people on the other side of the planet that registered and will also receive the recording for this. Everywhere that your presumed reality is that life is one of pain. And so the reactive reality that you expect from everyone else around you is in line with pain, with suffering, with always pursuing and never actually having. Will you destroy and uncreate all of that times a godzillion, please? Right and wrong, good and bad, pod and poc, all nine shorts, boys, povads, and beyonds. Now, I don't know if, I think I might have pasted this in when not everybody was on, so I'm going to paste it in again. There is a link on the Access website there. accessconsciousness.com/find-your-happy. And in it, you'll see like a landing page for how to become happy, right? Finding your happy. And Dr. Dane goes through 4 basic tools. But I'd like to take it a step before that. The recognition, the simple presence with, and the recognition that we are not the points of views and the stories and the pasts and the previous experiences that we may have had is huge. You see, the moment you realize you are not your point of view, this is you, and this is the point of view that you may have held on to. This is a thought, a feeling, an emotion, a consideration, a judgment, a conclusion, a presumption, if you will, all of that. It isn't you. The moment you have a tiny bit of a space there, you can begin to see the effect of every single point of view. And when you recognize you're not that, you also don't have quite as much to, quote unquote, fix. You're actually not nearly as fucked up as you've ever imagined yourself to be. You are not nearly as screwed up. And one of the things that Gary Douglas, the founder of Access, always says is that in consciousness, everything is included and nothing is judged. Now, guess what? That includes judgment. That includes the stuff that we might have gotten, on ourselves for. That might include anything that's not necessarily fun for us. But it doesn't mean that we're wrong. Doesn't mean that we're right. Just doesn't mean that we're wrong. What if we're never right? We're never wrong. Everything is included. Nothing is judged. And we can just choose and keep choosing towards whatever delights us, whatever lights us up, whatever enlivens us, whatever fills us with such a sense of, oh, wow, this would be really cool. I'd like to play with that. I received a little video from a friend of mine and her daughter and the little grandchild. And the little grandchild's like 5.5 months old, pudgy, cute little thing, and he's moving around. They put sunglasses on him. And he's such a doll. He's beautiful. And you can see him like playing in his little, they have those baby seats with things that were hanging, and he's just waving arms around and legs around, and he's giggling and he's grabbing things and he's laughing at the camera, and he knows he's rocking the world. We all came in like that. Every single one of us. We came in knowing our worth, being happy, being ready to rock and roll, basically. We were thrilled to just, hey, I get to come on this planet. I get to learn new things. I get to see other stuff that I've not experienced before. And somewhere along the way, as we grow up and we become toddlers, and then we go to school or we're in kindergarten, and if somebody would come in and ask us, hey, who here's an actress? Everybody's gonna, raise their hands. Yeah, I'll act. And you'd ask them, hey, who's the dancer here? Who dances? Who are the dancers? Dance. And they have this full, wide, colorful experience of life. Who here likes to jump up and down or run real fast? All the kids come and volunteer, right? They get excited. They're exuberant about living. And that's how we showed up on this planet, right? But at some point, whether it's from TV, from well-meaning relatives, from other parents that say, okay, now you're in 1st grade or 2nd grade or 5th grade or whatever it is, you've got to buckle in now because, things are getting real and you've got to be realistic and you've got to do things the way we say that you should, or we're trying to protect you. That's one I heard a lot. I'm only saying this because I'm trying to take care of you. So all the presumptive realities of what caring is and the pain of love and the pain of receiving approval? Would you be willing to destroy and uncreate all of that? And everywhere you've created yourself as the push the right button and I'll give you the right reactive reality response to that. Will you destroy and uncreate it all, please? Right and wrong, good and bad, pod and poc, all nine shorts, boys, povads, and beyonds. And it's fascinating to me how the slightly older the kids are, when you go into a classroom with them and you ask them questions, suddenly they're concerned about, what are other people going to think of me? No, the teacher said this is what a good math person does, or this is what an piece of artwork supposed to look like. It's not supposed to look like this. And we spend so much of our energy, so much of our capacity, really, wasting it on trying to get the right judgment rather than just keeping on choosing, keeping on playing, keeping on adventuring, keeping on being ourselves. We shut that down, and suddenly, instead of that huge box of Crayola crayons that we all had as little kids, suddenly they're colored pencils, and there are only a certain number of them, and we have to draw very realistically. And then later on, it just becomes, just the black pen and possibly the red pen if you're getting graded, and that gets marked up in a different way. But we end up limiting ourselves tremendously. So what if, rather than allowing all of what we have taken on to dictate our life, what if we give it a little shake, kind of like our own personal earthquake? What if, rather than fixating on fixing, we'd go, okay, well, that was awesome. It got me to right here. It got me to right now. It got me to exactly this moment. But I know I'm not whatever that was. Whatever I had experienced before is based on what I'd thought before, what my points of view were before, the things that I bought from other people, the things that I believed so profoundly. But what could I choose now? See, none of us as little kids, or, if this were happening to us as adults now, if somebody would come up to you and go, you know what, your artwork sucks and your painting sucks and you can't do this. This isn't the correct way of doing things. If you still came in with that energy of the kid who just trusts themselves completely, and then they hear something like that dynamically, they go, what you talking about? And keep on being themselves. The problem is kind of like, how you cook a frog, you put them in a pot of water, right? But it's at room temperature, and then you turn up the heat very, very slowly, where they don't even realize that something's being changed. They get accustomed to the slightly warmer, and they'll, just sit there and they'll get warmed up a little more and warmed up a little more until they don't even realize that they're being cooked alive. But if you throw that frog into a pot of boiling water, they'd hop right out. They wouldn't stay in there. They'd hop right out. But since that shutting us down happened insidiously over many, many years, a little bit at a time, we took it as a assumed, it is just the way it is. This is what living in the world is like. So everywhere we've assumed and presumed that we're not allowed to be too happy. We're not allowed to be too colorful. We're not allowed to be everything that we truly know is possible for us, or truly would like to enjoy and have and play with. Everywhere we've not allowed ourselves to play based on everything that we believed from other people. We destroy and uncreate all of that times a godzillion, please. Right and wrong, good and bad, pod and poc, all nine shorts, boys, povads, and beyonds. And one of the greatest things is to recognize, to truly, truly recognize that these are beyond tools. These are the way of looking and being and functioning in the world. the moment you make a different choice, the moment you look at a point of view and recognize, oh, it's just a point of view. It's just that green point of view, that yellow point of view. Oh, I'm on reverse, or that blue point of view, but it's not really who I am. You have freedom. And with that freedom, then you can apply and play with any tool that you'd like. But you recognize that you are not whatever that is. I had the privilege of speaking with someone today who, one of the kiddos who was having a bit of a challenging time, would be an understatement today. And I used the metaphor of exactly the sky that we were in. I was driving to school with my daughter and in the morning, and you could see the blue sky in the background, and then on top this heavy, dark, dense layer of black and gray clouds with no break other than just above the sea. There was a little, blue sky. And I said, just look at that, kiddo. Look at that and notice that that blue sky is the infinite being that you be. And all of that cloud coverage, whatever that storm clouds, whatever else is going on out there, isn't you. It's something that you may be experiencing, you may be seeing, you may be feeling the effect of, but it is not you. And the moment we realize that, we can also recognize that the clouds move away. At some point, they part. The sun begins to shine. It may not happen today. It may not happen tomorrow. I don't know, according to the weather reports, they said, like sometime in the middle of the week, it will become sunny again. Who knows? But we know that it isn't going to stay the way it is right now. Things are always in movement, right? And when we allow ourselves to be that flow as well, then things can begin to shift and change. Now, how do we allow ourselves to be that flow? By not trying to hold on to anything. If everything is transient, if these points of views, these clouds that are going past keep moving, it is about as useless to try to hold on to a particular moment, a particular story, a particular experience, as it is to try to grab a cloud by the tail and hold on to it for dear life. It's practically impossible, and yet we spend so much time and energy and everything holding on to something. So I've got something in my hand. When I try to hold on to it, nothing else can come in. There's no movement, there's no flow. I'm grasping this so tightly. In order to keep it held in my hand, I have to expend a lot of energy in just holding on. When I'm willing to just let it go, I pick it back up again. Nobody says we don't have that choice. It is our choice, but we don't have to. Okay? And the brilliance of allowing things to move is that we can then be present with what would I like to choose now. In Access Consciousness, we speak about living in 10-second increments, which means that we are present right here, right now. If I'm living in a 10-second increment, I'm not bothering with that was a lot of 10 seconds ago, with whatever happened yesterday or day before yesterday. Or why would I choose to stay upset at something that was a long time ago? Even if it was 5 minutes ago, an hour ago, this morning, whatever. Now, what am I choosing? Now, what would I like to have? If I weren't so busy trying to maintain that cloud, in my hand, to hold on to whatever that point of view, I'd be able to see something else possible. I'd be able to choose a different energy. I'd be able to choose a different experience. I'd be able to say, you know what, that doesn't work for me. I'd like something different. And we can't be and do and have that when we're so busy holding on to things. And you know what the real kicker is? And I didn't get this, and this is why I was diagnosed for so long. is we have this really insane capacity to defend with so much intensity whatever point of view we buy from somebody else. In my case, my mother happened to be extremely depressed. She had survived the Holocaust. She went through a lot of different things. And in her view of life, everything was happening to her. Sound familiar? Life is difficult. Things are terrible. And yeah, I took it on, but it wasn't my reality. When you take on something, and every single one of us is so highly psychically aware of what's going on with different people. But when we take something that's somebody else's reality, somebody else's story, somebody else's experience, and try to like paste it over us, try to hold on to it, we make it far more intense and dense and real. And the interesting thing is, no matter how much I got medicated, no matter how much I went to therapy, no matter how much I would go over my stories again and again and again, they sounded like they were my stories, but it wasn't my depression. I know it sounds really, really odd because I was diagnosed that way. You know, all the experts, the doctors, they all knew what they were talking about, right? But they didn't take into account this thing called awareness. And when we are so highly aware of what's going on for other people, unless we know otherwise that we do have a choice, we make it all relevant. We defend it to the death, literally. Of course, this is true. This is the foundation of my reality. It becomes your presumptive reality. And you don't even recognize that there is a space between whatever that point of view is and yourself. So the moment you recognize that you're living in this experience of your points of view, or as Dr. Dane here, the co-creator of Access, says in his book, Being You, Changing the World, your point of view creates your reality. Well, it creates the way you're willing to experience the world. And so the more you recognize it, the more you go, oh, that's cute. I don't have to fix it if everything is included and nothing is judged. I could just be with it. I could just observe this. I could just go, wow, this is really interesting that I'm choosing this again. What would I prefer to choose now? What would be fun for me to choose now? What would be different that I might not even know if it's fun or not, but it'll definitely be different. And if I'm choosing different, then something's going to change. Albert Einstein's definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. How often do we do that? We repeat the same things that went on in our life and our childhood. Will always get rejected. Well, if your point of view creates your reality and you're holding on to that story, you're holding on to that point of view, you're repeating that same story and defending it most likely because it's not even yours, right? But you're holding onto it so dynamically, nothing else has room to get in. Your hands are not open for the universe to gift you other possibilities because you're holding on to whatever that thing is, whatever that story is, whatever that experience is. And since that was a lot of 10 seconds ago, that experience isn't even you anymore. What are you that you've never imagined, you've never allowed yourself to explore and to see and to appreciate and to embrace, and you know what? Even to allow. And what would be different if you would allow yourself to be that space of exploration, to wonder, to choose something that's different? You know? So all of the challenges, all of the difficulties, and all of the perspectives that you've bought from other people and you keep in your life, knowing as long as you have those challenges and those difficulties and stories, then, you know, you've got something that's familiar to you and something that you can overcome and something that, you know, would make more sense to you and to everybody else who knows you. everything that is, would you destroy and uncreate it all? Right and wrong, good and bad, POD and POC, all nine shorts, boys, povads, and beyonds. So everything that you've assumed and presumed about you that kept you in the need of reactive realities, of validation, of approval, from others, would you be willing to destroy and uncreate all of that and allow yourself a little space to begin this experiment, this adventure called being you, just for a wee bit? Anything that doesn't allow that, will you destroy and uncreate it all? Right and wrong, good and bad, POD and POC, all nine shorts, boys, povads, and beyonds. And a really interesting thing is that most people prefer for us to be everything that they already know us as, because that way that's easier for them to control us. When you're willing to be out of control, or we've got a beautiful clearing and access, what energy, space, consciousness, which is you as an infinite being, choice, magic, miracle, mystery, power, potency, and possibility can you and your body be? To be out of control, out of definition, out of limitation, out of form, structure, and significance, out of linearities and concentricities, beyond all presumptive realities and the needs of reactive realities, with total ease, joy, and glory for all eternity. Anything that doesn't allow that, will you destroy and uncreate it all? Right and wrong, good and bad, POD and POC, all nine shorts, boys, povads, and beyonds. Out of control means you are the chooser of your life. Out of control means you're no longer at the effect of somebody else's puppet strings. And what this reality does, for the most part, is have you be as controlled, as predictable, as defined, as reasonable, as confined as possible, because then it's like you become part of the building block of this reality, literally in a little box. When you're out of control, you're beyond that. You're an algorithmic interrupt. You're this free radical that nobody knows what to do with. But the thing is, as that flow, as that fluidity, you're no longer having to fight for anything. You can relax into being and receiving it. So in that Find Your Happy place, Find Your Happy website, Dr. Dane mentions the tool, who does this belong to? The underlying supposition for that is to recognize how aware we truly are. More than 98% or 98,000% of our thoughts, our feelings, our emotions, our presumptions, our assumptions, our considerations, our way of looking at the world is based on what we've bought from other people, and really what we've put our dukes up defending, and what we've held on to so dynamically. One space to notice is that you're not any point of view that you have. You may have a point of view, it may go past you, it may park itself in your head for a while, you may hear it in your voice, but it's not you. And so this level of awareness that we have may seem scary for some people. Like, I can't be happy. Everybody else around me is so miserable. What if they don't know a different way to be? What if, rather than trying to rescue anybody or trying to understand anybody and going down into wherever they happen to be, or coming at them as, no, I know better than you, which is kind of a superior position, and one I've walked in quite a lot in my life. What if we allowed them to be exactly how they are right now, without trying to save anybody, but being in total allowance and total space for whatever it is that they're choosing, and allowing ourselves simultaneously to be such a space of ease, of relaxation, of expansion, that whatever is going on in their world begins to dissipate when we're around. Like, one of the things that I know about myself, for example, is that I love hugs. I love hugs, and I give awesome hugs. And when I hug someone, it isn't like a, like a stiff board, with arms. It's like, it's a melty kind of a hug. Now, where's your energy, this melty, expansive energy that changes things around you? Where can you be more of that space? Remember, we said before, the energy, space, and consciousness. That's the truth of you as an infinite being. What space could you choose? And it is a choice in any moment. But the recognition that you have a choice is where freedom lies. As you're knowing that you have a choice, you can say, okay, well, I can choose to be miserable. And I can certainly choose to be upset, and I can choose to be frustrated. And I can know that that's just one 10-second option that I have. If I were to choose the rest of my life and I only had 10 more seconds to live, would I still choose to be upset, or would I make a different choice? A huge gift that we've had in our family, my husband was diagnosed with leukemia a couple of years ago, and that really gave us a different perspective on life and on gratitude for every moment. And yeah, we could choose to stay upset or to get mad or to hardly fight. Why waste time fighting when we could actually enjoy ourselves? And that's a choice that we have at every moment. We can be upset with people, or we can say, you know what? I've never been who I could be in these 10 seconds ever before. And same with this person. They've never been whoever they are right now ever before. I have my stories, the points of views, the presumptions that I've been telling about them, based on previous experience, but that's the past. Who are they now? And what grand and glorious adventures could I have with them? And who am I now? And what grand and glorious adventures could I have with me if I weren't having to hold on to any point of view? So when I no longer have to hold on to any point of view, I can have fun, I can enjoy, and I can be fresh right here and right now. So when something comes up, a thought, a feeling, an emotion, a consideration, a point of view, a presumption, and it's passing through my head, and I hear it in my voice, and I think it's mine. Bet your bottom dollar, 99.99999% of the time, it is not mine. And it may not even be the person who's in front of me. It may be from who knows where. But if I'm willing to recognize, not mine, I don't have to hold on to it. I can return it to sender with consciousness attached, so it can just keep bouncing back. Oh, it wasn't this person's. Oh, it wasn't this person's. Oh, it wasn't this person's. And it can just go back until it goes back to source, where it probably didn't start out being sad and miserable to begin with. So it's really interesting, the freedom that we have when we don't take anything on that's not ours to have to deal with. As human beings, we are so perceptive. We're so aware of what's going on, not just human beings. If you have pets, you see dogs and cats, and they can pick up your mood. They know exactly what's going on. They perceive the energy of someone coming in who dislikes them maybe, and they'll growl or they'll yap or something. They perceive too. The thing is, when we perceive, we don't have to make ourselves at the effect of anything. We can see what the situation is. We can see what's going on, and we can say, okay, well, this doesn't work for me. I'm getting information here. I often perceive things through my body, and I tend to be a bit of a healer also. So I take on things, but it's the moment that I recognize, oh, Okay, body, who are we healing here? Thank you for this information. This is an ours we can return to sender. What a gift you are, sweet, sweet body, because our bodies are here as our cat's whiskers of the world. You know, they're giving us all of this information. And rather than taking the information that we're perceiving and locking it in and saying, oh, I'm sad. Oh, I'm depressed. Oh, I'm not feeling well. Oh, I have a headache. And we could say, hey, body, what are you showing me? What information are you giving me? What are you perceiving here? And like sitting in high school for 3 weeks, you really get to see a lot of the angst that goes on, a lot of the social frustration, a lot of the fear of what are other people going to think of me. I'm sitting in the commons with, you know, one of those zero gravity chairs, and you can really see the wheels churning in different people's heads. You know, do I dare get in the chair? What are people going to say about me? What are they not going to say about me? It's kind of funny to observe, but the thing is, it's easy for me to observe in somebody else because it's not me. What if I take that moment to observe when I'm going through the motions of all of those points of views in my own head? See, we all have the wheels churning. It's part of our experience of being alive. Not only are we thinkers and stinkers, you could say, but we're also picking up so much from other people and we think that it's ours. But if we see every thought, every feeling as an emotion as a cloud that's going past that blue sky, it's not who you really are. And in that lies your freedom. In that, with any tool you use, you have this innate knowing that you are far beyond anything that you've ever imagined before. You are not screwed up. You're not messed up. You're not whatever that thing is that you're perceiving. You are the space of lightness, of ease, of space, really, of lightness, space, and ease. When you're truly being you, there's no contraction, there's no heaviness, there's no density to you. It's only when we take on other people's points of views or when we're defending something, we're holding on to something, that's when it becomes dense. That's when it becomes intense. That's when it hurts and feels stressful and we create disease in our bodies and all sorts of gunk. That's when we're not being us. When we're truly being us, things don't stick. They don't stick like that because we're willing to be the fluidity of space. There's nothing for us to fear and there's nothing for us to run away from. And interestingly, one of the greatest challenges for me to overcome, and I've seen it with other people as well, is that fix-it mentality. There's give me the perfect tool, give me the perfect clearing, give me the perfect thing. Well, you know what? It's kind of hard when you're not screwed up. When you're not screwed up and you realize, I'm not as fucked up as I thought I was, then yes, you can use a tool for joy if you'd like, but just the mere recognition that you are not screwed up, that awareness, and that you can make a different choice changes everything. Gary Douglas, the founder of Access, says you can pot and pock until the cows come home. But if you don't make a different choice, nothing is going to change. And it is so true. The moment we recognize something, if I'm doing something that's hurting me over and over, I can, jab this in my head over and over and over. I could keep choosing from the same presumptive reality, from that same, oh no, life is happening to me. And I'm not even recognizing that this is my own thought, my own feeling, my own emotion, or one that I'm picking up from somebody else. And I don't have to keep repeating it. If it's not light, if it's not spacious, if it's not something that's bringing joy to my life, as soon as I see it, I can go, oh, that's cute. I have to keep doing this. What other choice could I make? Our being is a wellness of being, the wealth of being, the space of being, the joy of being. That's who we truly be. It isn't having to fix up everything. When we came in as little kids, there's nothing, quote unquote, wrong with us. There still isn't. It's just we that hold on to the stories that create that angst, that suffering, and that pain. So if it isn't true for you, if it isn't light, it isn't yours. And the mere recognition of, oh, oh, somebody said something to me. Oh, they called me names. Well, they said this and this feels contracted. Not my reality. Bye-bye. I don't have to keep choosing that. I don't have to believe that. Maybe I believed it before. I had a gaslighting ex-husband. I believed a lot of stuff that he said about me. And that wasn't fun, to say the least. Thankfully, I didn't stay married to him for that long. Second husband was so much more wonderful. But the first husband, gave me a bucket full of stuff that I spent 20 some odd years, 30 some odd years, something like that, trying to get over, rather than simply choosing beyond. That's where I tripped myself up, as I kept trying to fix myself, reading more and more self-help books and going to more classes and things. And then somewhere in the last couple of years, I can choose the classes that I'd like to take or read the books that I'd like to read, that I get the sense of expansion from, but not from having to fix anything. I'm not a broken fix-it-up project. I'm actually pretty amazing. Even with all the shit that I may have chosen in my life up to now, it's whatever I chose that brought me to right here. If I didn't have those experiences, maybe I would never be right here, choosing what I'm choosing now and creating what I'm creating now, and inviting people to what I'm inviting people now. I wouldn't have even, it wouldn't have dawned on me that I could have these kinds of conversations with myself or with the world. So what a gift every moment and every experience has been up to now. And if I were willing to keep exploring, what a gift other experiences could be too. If I don't take on other people's points of view, then I have more of the space of me. Then I can, as the mantra of access consciousness says, receive all of life and whatever's going on outside with ease and joy and glory, because I have this innate trust in myself, in my capacities, and in what I know could be possible. A bird doesn't stand at the edge of its nest going, I can't fly, I can't fly. Eventually, flapping their wings enough, they'll fly. Maybe not as tiny little baby birds, but once their plumage, kind of grows in, they'll fly. It's just what birds do. If the bird's not got broken wings or clipped wings or something, they will fly. Same with us. When we're willing to choose the lightness of us, the truth of us, and what's true for us will always make us feel lighter, the more of the lightness that we choose and we add and we play with, the things that make us gasp and giggle and enjoy and be thrilled to wake up in the morning for, whatever those things are, choose more of them. When you choose more of them, you'll have that greater space, which is you. And when you do that and you trust yourself, you can take on anything. Bring it on, universe. Everything comes to me with ease, with joy, and with glory, because I got wings, baby, and I can fly. Right? The moment we recognize that we can trust ourselves, the universe is able to gift us anything and everything. Now, sometimes it gifts us especially if we tell the universe that there's something that we'd like, we're going to get all sorts of challenges coming our way too, to just kind of make sure the universe looks, do you really, really desire that? Are you really congruent with that ask of yours, with whatever it is that you'd like to have? Are you? Let me just make sure. And it might throw us, a loophole here, a loophole there, a little something that's, we say the universe has a sense of humor. But when we have that confidence in ourselves and in our ability to choose beyond a point of view, and in our preference for lightness, for ease, and for space, then we know what doesn't work for us. And if we don't get into solidifying a point of view or solidifying something that's coming our way, every time we function from either resistance and reaction or from alignment and agreement, we solidify a point of view. So in order to have, let me use this. In order to have something created as a reality, we have at least two people either aligning and agreeing or resisting and reacting, but holding on to that point of view, creating it as true and real. The moment you let go of a point of view, it's like letting go of the side of the cord. The moment you run a clearing statement, have your bars run, just recognize that, oh, I keep beating myself in the head. I don't have to anymore. I'm doing it. I can choose to put the thing down. You're letting go of that aligning and agreeing or resisting and reacting to a point of view. And so it desolidifies all of those presumptive realities, desolidifies the fabric of reality, and something else becomes possible. This is your being you, you're choosing lightness. You're not buying into other people's points of views or directives or anything else that allows you to be that ease and joy and glory and space that melts things around you when you don't align and agree or resist and react to a point of view. And we call that an access allowance. When you're willing to see what goes on and not have to put up your dukes and fight, and not have to defend anything, nor avoid anything, then you have the space of you. And your being that much space of you begins to melt everything else around you. And it's really, really beautiful to see. One of the tools that I love in Access, it's not on the specific page of the Find Your Happy, but it's something that I love. And we speak about it a lot in different Access classes, in lowering your barriers. What are your barriers? Your barriers are everything that you've put up as a way to define yourself, to confine yourself, to keep yourself separate from everything in this amazingly generous, generative, abundant universe. By keeping yourself separate, by having these barriers and barricades up, you and me and everything that I was taught in therapy for so many years, we have to put up our boundaries, our barriers. We have to defend ourselves in a particular way and not let anybody else cross in. Well, I say, rather than doing that, what if you energetically ask for whatever those things are, whatever those barriers and barricades and obstacles and moats and walls and suits of armor and everything else you have between you and you and you and the world? What if you let all of that go? What if you allow it to come apart, even just a little bit, even just for a little bit, 10 seconds at a time, and let it go down, go down, go down. And what you'll find when you lower your barriers, you naturally expand. I'm holding a plexiglass cup right here, and it has liquid inside. If this were to be shattered, which it is not glass, and I'm not throwing it on the floor, so it's not going to be shattered, but if it were shattered, everything that's inside of it, the liquid, will spill, will flow, will ooze. Same thing when we lower our barriers, when we lower our defense mechanisms, when we lower our coping mechanisms, when we lower all of the stories that we've told about ourselves, when we put everything down, it is amazing how naturally, innately, easily we begin to expand into the space of us. One of the greatest lies we function from on this planet is that we are alone. And we're not. As an infinite being, how can we be? It's impossible. So when we recognize that there is more to us than meets the eye, when we lower these barriers, when we let go of these stories, when we let go of anything that we've ever imagined ourselves to be, then something new, magical, amazing is possible. And a different experience of being in the world is possible. And to give you a sense of that space of you, I'd like to, for the next few minutes, to do something. Well, actually, before we do that, I'm going to ask, do you have any questions? Anything coming up in your universe, or anything you want to write in the chat? If you don't want to speak up, it's good too. If anything comes up. No? Okay. Yes? Okay. So let me think.
Okay,
Hi.
so hi, I'm Mary.
Hi, Mary.
When you said access allowance is when you're willing to see what's going on without defending. And then there was a second thing, without defending or what? And I
Avoiding.
Or avoiding, right?
Yeah.
Very good. Perfect.
And that's
Just as
actually
important.
part of the clearing statement of access. In the last year, we added everything that we are avoiding and defending. One of the clearings that Dr. Dane gave me a long time ago when I had a session with him I think it was like 2000, like 10 years ago, basically. At that time, we didn't speak about the povads, about the points of view that we are avoiding and defending. But the clearing he gave me is, who or what are you defending for or against, that if you didn't defend for or against it, would give you all of you? And that was such a cool clearing, because I got to see how much I attempted to confine how I would behave with people, what was available to me, and what I was expecting from others. Rather than that, in the last couple of years, I've really gotten more of the gift of being myself, and the ease and the joy and the exuberance and the wonder and the curiosity and the silliness and the willingness to be myself is something that's very different, when I'm being me, than when I'm trying to present a particular way to be by defending for or against something or someone, by having the presumptive reality that in order to be received, I have to behave in a particular way. So everything would trap me rather than allow me to be myself. And that's really how this reality is designed. It's not designed to encourage you. It's designed to have you as a cog in the machine that fits in and does what everybody in this reality would like you to be and do. And I'm not saying that we choose against that. Access isn't about fighting this reality or going against this reality. It's about showing you that you have a choice beyond it. And when you recognize that you have a choice, that space of freedom between the point of view and you, then you recognize that you can choose, you can create, you can utilize anything and everything to create the life and living that you'd like to have, and not be at the effect of everything. Anything else?
No, that's perfect. Thank you.
Sure, sure. So what I'd like to do now is something that I really love a lot. I don't know if you guys have ever had the experience of a symphony group taster, but I'm a symphony advanced practitioner, which means I play with the symphony of possibilities energies quite a lot, and it's rather dynamically different. And so I'm going to ask you to lower your barriers so that you can receive. And for just a few moments, relax, receive, and I wonder where we're going to go with this. My hands might move, I might get quiet. I'm tapping into your universe, into mine, into this amazing world of oneness we live in. And into what a lot of people seem to be perceiving in the world today, which is that happiness seems to happen to other people, but not to themselves. That there are certain dreams that they're not allowed to explore, to enjoy, to have, to revel in. And we may be aware of the frustration and the difficulty and the misery of people, yet by being just as miserable, we don't show them that a different possibility is available. Yet when we're willing to be relaxed, and when we're willing to be space, and we're willing to smile, and we're willing to crack a joke, laugh, enjoy life more, they begin to perceive that sunshineness, that openness, that possibility that they would never have imagined was available otherwise. What do we know that we've been pretending not to know, not allowing ourselves to know, because it hasn't really been accepted, hasn't really been permitted, hasn't really been allowed? But if we'd allow ourselves to know it, if we'd allow ourselves to explore it, would change everything dynamically. Would change how we show up in the world, would change how we perceive the world, would change how other people perceive the world around us. By the very gift of our willingness to be light, to be joy, to be smiles, to be willing, just willing, then we can begin to be that radiance, that brilliance, that light that lights up other people, other beings. And if we look at the world around us, at the natural world around us, not necessarily the two-leggeds walking around, but if we observe the animals and the birds and the trees and the plants, we can see how they are so willing to contribute. They are so generous with their presence. They are so willing to fully be themselves, to bark or to jump or to run or to play or to wave in the wind and the breeze and the rain, with no point of view about how something has to be, with no aligning and agreeing, with no this is good and this is bad and this is right and this is wrong. No, 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 no. Just being beyond anything that we could imagine. just being the gift that we be, that they be, that we perceive, that we receive, and that we can contribute by our willingness, by our openness, by our joy, by our laughter, by our experimenting with the possibilities that are around, with the choices that we can make 10 seconds at a time. What would be fun for us now? What would bring joy to the world? What would put a smile on our faces? What would create a totally different experience of being and living? How much fun could we have? And who could we invite on that adventure with us? If they'd like to come. Not depending on anybody. But if they'd like to come, hey, come on. So much fun. I didn't much understand that life has to be a struggle bit, even though that's what I was dynamically shown when I was a kid. That life is difficult, that we have so much to overcome, but that's not my reality. My reality is that we live in an abundant, phenomenal universe, that there's so much available that we've never imagined, that there's so much possible that we've never imagined, that everything would like to contribute and everything would like us to receive. And yet we're the ones that keep putting up walls and barricades and barriers and obstacles and moats and put up dragons to defend from everything that's attempting to gift to us. But if we'd actually relax, but if we lower our barriers even more and more, and give this amazing, phenomenal world we get to live in a huge reach around kind of a hug. Expanding out in every direction. Full contribution, lightness, of ease, of joy, of glory, of possibilities, of giggles, of change are you, that you haven't yet allowed yourself to explore, to explode, to invite, to be. If you'd allow yourself to step into that potency, into that phenomenance that you be, that nobody else can be, because nobody else has had your experiences, your perspective, your outlook, your way of seeing and being in the world, your unique gift. If you were to step into it, to claim it, to own it, to acknowledge it, and to finally begin to gift it to the rest of us. What would the world be like then? What would the future be like then? There are no extras in the world. There are no counts, believe it or not. If you're here, it's because you've come to be a gift. And being you is the gift. the rest of this world is looking for. What magic, what miracle, what mystery, what power, what potency, what possibility, what energy, what space, what consciousness, what choice are you and can you now be? If you would be willing to be it, would inspire, invite, and enliven all of us beyond your wildest imaginings. Beyond. That's yummy. If you don't know about the Symphony of Possibilities energies, it's the Symphony of Possibilities is a class developed by Dr. Dane here. It's based on his energetic synthesis of being work, which that's only Dane. The Symphony of Possibilities is what the rest of the access facilitators are able to tap into, to do. They're amazing classes that Dr. Dane facilitates. He's got one coming up in Mexico City soon. And Dr. Anthony Mattis is creating classes called Opening of the Symphony as well, that are also playing with these energies that are absolutely amazing. And the Symphony Advanced practitioners, myself included, are able to facilitate little intros, 2-hour intros for people who've taken the foundation class that began to melt the concept of what is real and what isn't. And yeah, we can begin introducing the symphony classes for people who are keen to begin to play with these energies. And they're absolutely beautiful. You can find out more on the Access website. There are different ones occurring all around the world. Beneath all the words is energy. And energy is in everything. Words don't do energy much justice. In many ways, words are very limited compared to the energetic contribution that one can be. Like I was mentioning, that the melty hug that can change people's universes. Well, this is something very similar as well. When you tap into the energy, there is more available beyond the words. One of my very favorite books, the How to Become Money Workbook by Gary Douglas, has so much between the words that it's pointing to, that it's showing, that it's inviting us to. It's an energetic reset, you could say. That's what this is as well. And I think it will keep moving. I am so grateful that you were able to join me tonight, live or later. And happy World Happiness Day. Happy Choosing for You Day. And happy knowing that you, every single day, can make a new choice and can begin again. Truly, how does it get any better? And how did we get so lucky to know that we do have a choice? Because like I said, the first 40 some odd years of my life, I did not know I had a choice. And what a difference it makes to recognize that, yeah, I really do. And happiness, joy, ease, wonder, magic, that's all stuff I can choose anytime. And I can trust my wings and my plumage to carry me. And I know that I can fly. I know that the universe has my back and that I do too. So I'm very grateful that you were here today. And I will see you soon. Thank you.